Hello everyone, it's Kristen, and I thought it was time to spend some time chatting. We haven't done that in a while, and what better way to do that than sharing some of my favorites from all of 2024 with you. As I was thinking back over this past year, I realized that how I started 2024 is very different from how it's ending, because when the year started, I was halfway through my one-year teaching commitment. I had returned to teaching kindergarten part-time. I had an amazing co-teacher. I taught mornings, she taught afternoons, but we knew it was just a one-year commitment. So when 2024 started, I was halfway through that year. Now I am home. I am working from home. My kids are in school. And so it's just, the year has changed a lot, which you're going to see in some of my favorites. But let's start with this, because this has to be one of my favorite things. It is early morning wake up hours. I've always been more productive in the mornings, and I have discovered more of a morning person than a night owl. My husband's definitely a night owl, but I tend to do better in the mornings. I'm more productive. So when I was teaching, I made this a priority, and it's just stuck with me and carried over. Even though I had been doing it for years, last year was the year I really consistently made it happen every day to make sure some of my work was getting done. So I try to get up an hour before my kids do at 5:30, and then I wake them about 6:30 to start getting ready for school. And during that time, I typically write an Etsy book. So I run an Etsy shop where I handwrite Bible verses into children's books and sell them there. And doing that in the morning, it doesn't take a lot of mental energy, but it is something that I need to get done. And so I am working through that in the morning, and just having that 1 hour block of time where I know I can get something done in the mornings means if the rest of my day falls apart, which it definitely happens, you moms know exactly what I'm talking about, then I feel good because I already accomplished something by the time the kids get up. So I love those early morning wake hours, and that is something I am definitely planning on continuing in the next year. I have started, now that I'm not teaching, on the weekends. I don't always set my alarm for that early time, but often I still wake up early and do some work before everyone's up. All right, another thing that I loved in this year, let's switch games. It's this Aquaphor lip balm. And it's a lip repair in a tube. My sister introduced me to this because I have struggled for so long to find a lip balm that really works and just actually makes your lips feel moisturized where you don't have to reapply. And this finally does the trick. So I use it like at nighttime right before I go to bed. And then I don't really have to even reapply it during the day, but it just works so well. I love it, very reasonably priced. I buy like a 2-pack on Amazon for $5. I will leave links to everything that I'm mentioning that I can in the description below if you want to check it out, but I definitely recommend this. It works really well. Something else I love a lot, and I've been using for a while, but it was last year, again, teaching that made me really love it, was my Stanley cup. My sister-in-law gave this to me 2 years ago. I forget what Christmas. And when I opened it, I had no idea that like Stanley was a thing. I just really didn't. I was like, oh, how nice, a mug. And I didn't use it a ton. I had done the Yeti. I have had a bunch of different cups. But when I started teaching, I started using this every day, and I realized why it's so popular. First of all, it fits in your cup holder, which is amazing. It holds a full-size Panera drink, like 32 ounces, which is great. And it really keeps things cold. I am not an ice person in my drinks. I just like them cool, and then I drink them like that. And I could put something in this mug in the morning on the way to school, and it would still be totally cool by the time I was leaving at lunchtime and throughout the day. I love the handle. I really do like this. So that's become one of my favorite things, along with, like I just mentioned, my Panera Sip Club. Yes, I really enjoy that. We pass the Panera every day going to school, like literally right on the way. I just pull in and pull back out on our route. And so I stop 3 times a day at morning pickup, before I go pick up Caleb from preschool, and then at the end of the day, picking up all the kids. And I love it. I run in, grab my sparkling water, come back out, dump it in my Stanley, and it's a great thing. I use it enough that I could pay full price, but I'm frugal and I won't. So I just watch for the promos. I had to cancel at the beginning of the month, and they didn't offer me any promos. Well, you wait a week or two, and I just got an offer for $5 a month for the next 5 months, which I am super excited about. I think normally it's like 15 right now, but it definitely, for me, is worth it. And I save so much on sparkling water because I can just get at Panera with my Sip Club. So I love that. But if I'm not doing Panera, my favorite sparkling water is LaCroix. I am not a pop person. I used to always be a Diet Coke person. in the afternoons. I don't do coffee, but having something with bubbles, I just get tired of water. And sparkling water, I really enjoy it. I know other people don't, and it is definitely an acquired taste, but I have learned to love it, and so I drink quite a bit of it. And the Panera Sip Club is great for that, or I use that Limoncello LaCroix is my favorite brand there. Speaking of other favorite treats, I just got these again. And oh my goodness, I'd forgotten how much I love these. These pomegranate Brookside chocolates, they are so good. And I love that they're little tiny bites. And so I can hide them up high on my chocolate shelf for me and just grab a couple, 3 or 4, anytime I just need a little bite of dark chocolate. And that is definitely my favorite treat. The Aldi version are pretty good, the knockoff ones. I really like those too. But this time I had gotten a big bag at Sam's and I love them so much. Something else I've been enjoying this year is my scented wax warmer. You've probably seen those where they can sit on the counter, or this one actually plugs into an outlet and you put a little cube of wax on the top and it melts and it smells your house. So I have been using these Walmart ones and I really like these. This is the Better Homes and Garden. This is a sugar cookie. So good. I put this in and it really smells like I'm baking cookies. People come in and they're like, what are you cooking? Like it smells so good. And lately this winter, I've been doing this one, a spiced pumpkin pie. And again, it smells so good. Like it's very Christmassy, almost though it says a fall one. Like it has pumpkin, nutmeg, cinnamon, clove, molasses in it. And it just smells very holiday scent. So you just break one of these little cubes in and you put in the wax warmer. These are way cheaper than doing like Scentsy. My sister loves those. And Scentsy's nice, but you have to have a person to do it. So I've been using these, and of all the ones I've tried, these are definitely my favorite. Vanilla Cookie Crunch though. If you haven't tried that and you have a wax warmer, definitely recommend that one. It smells so good. I will say that sometimes I plug them in right when I come down in the morning and I turn it on for an hour or two, make the house smell nice. I'll turn it off for a bit. I don't like overpowering scents. Like I just don't. So doing it in little small increments like that is what works for me, and they smell amazing and very fresh and natural scent. Here is the biggest thing that I have loved in 2024 is our new van. Earlier this year, last April, we bought a new minivan after 5 years of driving a lemon of a van. It worked, it drove, we had paid cash for it, and so I drove it around town and it worked. It served its purpose. But it was kind of finicky. Like there were just times I wasn't always sure it was going to start, or little issues that we could never figure out, our mechanic couldn't figure out. But it worked and served its purpose of when we had 4 kids and we couldn't fit in my Mercury Sable, which I had loved. And we had bought this minivan and driven it for 5 years. So it came time, we had really been looking, and we ended up buying a 2019 Honda Odyssey. I had looked at a couple different vans. I was like, I just want something really reliable, something that starts all the time. That's a minivan. I could drive the kids around town because that's what I do. My husband has a Suburban, so we take that on long road trips. But I needed something for all the errands and the back and forth, which I am doing constantly all the time. This is the stage of my life I am in. So after a bunch of research, that was kind of where we ended. We bought it through a dealer. We did pay cash for it. So I will say that's another one of my favorite things, not having a car payment. We can talk more about that in the future if you want, or if you have questions. We have paid cash for the last 3 vehicles and that we have bought, and not having a car payment is amazing. So we have a couple $100 that come out every month into a car savings account. And then I try to put some of my blog earnings or YouTube earnings into that account every year. And it was a huge blessing to be able, again, to pay cash for this van. And we really do love this van. It's a minivan. It's nice. It's reliable. It does exactly what it's supposed to. And it's so nice to have that. All right, let's talk about one of my favorite things, books. And this was hard to narrow down, but I did my best to narrow it down for you because I am a reader. I love to read. I have always loved to read. Before kids, I would read 100 books a year. After kids, it went down a little, but I was reading to them tons. Like we would read so many picture books, and we've always read chapter books together. But when I was teaching, I just did not have the mental capacity to read as much as I wanted. Between teaching and juggling my business at home and our family, I wanted to read, but I just was in a season for that year where I couldn't read as much as I wanted to. So this summer, I dove back into reading so much. And I think my count right now is I'm at like 52 books for the year, not counting chapter books I've read with the kids. But one of the things I did was I actually bought a new Kindle. I had a Kindle years ago from my brother, and I went ahead and used some gift money, and there was an amazing deal on the summer sales, the summer cyber sales, and so I went ahead and bought a new Kindle, and it is so nice to have this. I used to use the Kindle app on my phone, and I still do sometimes use that Kindle app on my phone, but I wanted the kids to see that I was actually reading, that I wasn't just on my phone, because I do try to limit it, and I don't want to always be on there. So this has just helped because I can have so many books with me at any given moment. I love having my Kindle, so I really have enjoyed that again. But I also like physical books, and I've read a lot of good ones this year. So one of the authors, if you're looking for a good author, I would definitely recommend Susan May Warren. I dove back into her this year. She has so many different series. She's a Christian fiction writer, and I would say hers are a little bit of suspense with romance in them, is kind of how I classified them. It is clean romance, and it is not too scary suspense. So that's how I classify her books. And she writes amazing series. Like, I don't know how she does it, but all of her stories, like, they have, this series will have people from this series or this series, and there's just so many good ones. You can't go wrong. I think I've read every single thing she has written so far. If you want a good series to dive into, I really enjoy hers. Yeah. Pick any of them by her and you would definitely enjoy them. I would highly recommend Susan May Warren. One of the nonfiction books I read this year that I really liked was this one. It's called The Anxious Generation: How the Great Rewiring of Childhood is Causing an Epidemic of Mental Illness by Jonathan Haidt, I think you say his name is. So this came out last year. It was a New York Times bestseller. I think it was it came out in 2024. So I actually read this when we were in Hawaii on the plane and on the beach. I sat and read it. Hawaii was definitely a favorite, that trip with my husband. But this book was so good. And if you are a parent, you need to read this book. He is, I will say the disclaimer, he is an atheist and a social scientist. So some of his thing, there's a little bit of some things I didn't agree with, but his research is excellent. Basically, this book is all about how phones and the internet have changed our children. They have changed our children and how they encounter things. It has raised anxiety. It has raised depression. It has increased a lot of things. And the research that he did in this book is so good. Like, there are so many facts. Like, you read this book, my husband and I had always said, like, our kids won't have phones until they're in high school. We get that. But after reading this book, we're like, oh my goodness, they are definitely not having phones until they're in high school. And we are really going to control their social media usage even tighter than we had thought, because his premise on this book was, we didn't have the research before we started using the phones and the internet and having access to that. Well, now we can look back at the past 20 years of kids being exposed to this from a young age, and it is not good for children. It is not good for adults sometimes, like our dependence on technology. So, fascinating book, The Anxious Generation. I would highly recommend this book. Another book that I read that I loved is called The Saints of Whistle Down by Katie Sherman. And this one I read as we were traveling this summer, and I literally sobbed through it. It was so beautifully written and so emotional in ways I didn't expect. So Katie is a Lutheran pastor's wife, and she's written this book about the story of a church. And it's fascinating because she says all stories end in the cemetery, but yet they're all connected through the church. And if you are from the Midwest and you are used to small country churches, like, there's just so much that you will resonate with this in this story. I found myself resonating. Like, it's saying everyone has a story, and it starts by telling a story of this church member here and then this church member, and then it kind of winds them together. And it was just so beautifully written. It was not what I expected, but I loved it so much. The Saints of Whistle Grove, I would definitely recommend it, but have your tissues ready, because I didn't see some of the things coming, and then it was really well done. Like, I found myself thinking of other people as I was reading this book and how it related, maybe as a pastor daughter myself, growing up in the church. I just really connected with this book, and it was so beautifully written. I could go on about books all day, but I won't. But I'm going to do one more, because this is the read aloud that my kids and I have loved the most this year. And we are almost finished with the Wing Feather series. And this is by Andrew Peterson. It is a 4-book series. We are on book 4 now. This has taken us like half the year to get through this series because it's massive, but it is really well written. Let's see, I think Yeah, where are we? We are so close to the end. We're going to finish it before the year ends for sure. Oh, yep, we're almost done. This is how much we have left here. Okay, so it's a little hard to describe, but I'm going to do my best. I have kids that are 4 to 10, and this series has captured all of us and me. This was completely new to all of us that we have read, and we are really enjoying it. I would say it's similar to a Narnia series in that there is some fantasy. There is some definite Christian underlying messages and morals in there. Like we find ourselves trying to figure out how this all works and what it really means. But it's a story of 3 siblings that basically find out they are the king's sons and daughters, which they did not know. And then they have to go through all this quest to save their kingdom. And there is definitely fantasy. Like it's a little intense. There's some made up monsters called fangs, and the one son turns into a wolf as a spoiler. And they have to battle to kind of defeat Nag the Nameless. And so it's all through this story. They're all going on these quests, but it is so well written. The other thing that makes this really nice for a read aloud is that the chapters are really short. So like you can read 2 or 3 very easily, or if you just have time for a little bit, it cuts off very well. There are a lot of imaginary words in there, like he's made up a lot of things. So pronunciation, I just do my best and we figure it out. But this story is so well written. Every time we come to the end, they're like, oh, keep going, Mom. You can't stop there. Like he does a great job, Andrew Peterson, at really drawing you into the story. So again, it is called the Wingfeather Saga. I bought all 4 of these hardcover, I think for like $25. They go on sale very often on Amazon and I would definitely recommend the hardcover series for this just because it's a classic and it really is good. And we have all enjoyed that series as our read alouds. So I don't know what we're going to read next, but we are excited to finish it up and see how it ends. Movies, I just have one. I haven't had time to watch a lot of TV shows. We don't watch a lot of movies or go out to the theater very often, but I just took the girls to see Wicked and we absolutely loved it. Now I should state, in full disclosure, I am a huge musical fan. I have always loved musicals. I have a minor in music, absolutely love musicals. I had seen Wicked when it was in the first touring on stage back in Cincinnati when I was a new teacher. It was amazing. I've listened to the soundtrack for years. My kids have listened to the soundtrack, so they knew all the songs. So I took the girls on a mommy-daughter date, and we absolutely loved it. It was very true to the musical, like it stayed very true. It was very age appropriate. If you're not familiar with Wicked, it's basically the story pre-Wizard of Oz. So it's saying, how did the good witch become good and the bad witch become bad? And are they really good and bad, or is one of them misunderstood? And it's just a fascinating premise. Do not read the book. I have read the book that it was based on, and it is so dark. It is not like the musical. Skip that book. As much as I love books, don't read the book. Just watch the movie. But this new movie was so beautifully done. The cinematography, the dancing numbers, the singing. I loved Idina Menzel and Kristen Chenoweth in the original one, but this one, they just did a really good job. Now it is only part 1. We have to wait until next year for part 2 to come out. So it kind of cuts off right where intermission would be, which makes sense. And it's still a long movie. It's over 2.5 hours for that first part, but it was absolutely amazing. So if you like musicals, go ahead and check it out. But I would definitely recommend Wicked. It was great. My boys can't wait to actually go see it. Nathan was bummed that he didn't get to see it with us and the girls, but we will definitely see it again because it is so good. Now, I don't watch a lot of movies or shows, but one thing I do watch is YouTube, especially as I'm folding laundry or doing dishes. That's just something I will watch, especially now that I am on YouTube more. I like kind of seeing what other people are doing. So some of my favorite YouTube channels, if you want to check these out, are See Mindy Mom. She writes or she films a lot of meal content and very frugal minded, and I enjoy her channel. I would say pretty similar to mine. I really like Frugal Fit Mom, Christine over there. She does a great job with frugal living content and really keeping her grocery budget low. So I enjoy that. And then my favorite YouTube channel to watch for like stories is Open Roading. And I will say, I do know these people in person, Kaylin and Joseph. Kaylin's a blogger friend from years back, but they have really started filming and growing their YouTube channel this year. And if you see one of their videos, you will know why. They sold their house 5 years ago and they now live in an RV and travel across the country. And so they take you along, and their videos, Joseph does an amazing job editing. They really feel like just a little show. So like you watch one and it just very much is a very binge-worthy almost series. Like you can just sit down and watch these, and they do a great job of just letting you inside their lives and showing what it's like to live in an RV and travel. And I can say, honestly, they really are as sweet and wonderful as they appear on the videos. Like Kaylin is a very good friend, has become one over the years, and yeah, they're just fun videos to watch. So if you've never checked out Open Roading, please go check them out. You will love them just because, again, it's a very fun thing to do. Even if you don't have any plans to live in an RV yourself, like it's just fun to travel along with them and see all the things. My kids like watching the videos too, and they'll say, "What's Mrs. Kaylin doing this morning?" And when they have a new video come out, we all enjoy watching their videos. All right, so I think those are just some of my favorite things that I was thinking of from this past year. We did some amazing trips. My trip to Hawaii with my husband for our 15th anniversary was definitely a favorite thing, getting some time away without the kids. His parents, my sister, they all made it happen by watching our kids. We went out west and did a Colorado trip with my family and my siblings and all our nieces and nephews, and that was amazing. We drove and saw some more states out west too. All of those things. We really love traveling. So of course, those were favorite memories and special things from the past year too. But those are some of my favorites from this past year. Let me know some of your favorites in the comments, and let me know, do you enjoy the style of chatting? Would this be something you are interested in seeing more of, like a monthly chat like this, where we kind of talked favorites and just about life and what's going on? Or what kind of content do you want to see from me in the new year? One of my favorite things, I should end by saying for sure, was getting to know all of you here more on YouTube and growing this channel. And I am so excited to share more with you in the coming year. Thanks so much for joining me, and I'll see you in the next video.